AI stands for artificial intelligence. So in layman's term, it's just a machine which we will train the machine in such a way that it behaves like a human. So just say you have a machine, and if you want to make it intelligent like AI, yeah, you'll be training, you'll be giving it data on and on and on, like what we want to let the AI learn, and using those data, he'll learn, and from that, at the end, he'll become more intelligent. Like the more data you feed it to the AI model, the more he will learn. So in layman terms, I think it's just like a child. So if you give more information to the child, say when he or she is at around 6-7 years, and when you tell your child okay, this is blue, this is red, this is green, and if you give more and more of that color to your child, and if you tell them that this is red, and when he comes around age 10, I think he'll try to understand, he'll learn that this is red. So same thing with AI. If you give more data, it will learn.
Maybe we can try to understand it like this, just in terms of a human. What makes a human intelligent? So one of the bases that sets us apart from the rest of other creatures around is the fact that we are creatures, or we are organisms who are trainable, who can learn, and who can develop a mind of our own to take decisions and all. So let's take the example of a young child being born. So example, in today's context, if you see a grown-up, if I ask a person to go to the main town, for example, from here. So as a human being, I need not explain to him that you can take a bus or a taxi, or you can walk, depending on the distance. So all this has been trained throughout his life. So in that way, for example, nobody has directly told him to take a bus, but if the distance is a bit long, and provided economical circumstances, he doesn't have that much money, then the cheapest option will be for him to take a bus and go to the desired destination. If he has got more resources, or if he wants to make it more convenient for his personal well-being, maybe he'll take a taxi, or if it's close by, he will take the nearest shortcut, take some footpaths maybe. So how has this been indoctrinated in him is he has been taught throughout the ways of life. If you have money, you have to earn this to get this much money. If you have this much, you can spend it on this much. So that is how a human being is generally developed. And having an intelligence of our own, it's easier for us to differentiate whether or prioritize which one is important, which one is not. So that is how humans have been trained, by constant interaction, by informations that have been fed, by social interactions, many other things, many others. So when you talk about artificial intelligence, it is something man-made as in we deploy or we use computers to do those calculations for us, which is the best decision you can take. So there are some terms called algorithms as well, the way in which you design the path for taking decisions. So a smart computer, let's say, which has the capability to decide and to choose, can be termed as an artificial intelligent object or a machine. So that's AI.
To have computers do that, take decisions on their own. A lot of people do not take it in a very positive way. They find it very threatening also. How do you see it? How do you see these things? When you say about AI, like in this current generation, many people are scared that AI will take over the world, AI will take over our jobs and whatnot. But I feel let's say way back in our forefathers' generations, our forefathers went to the field, they plowed the field. They had to do labor, manual labor. But since when the first, let's say, tractor or machines were introduced, many people also feared about those tractors. They thought that due to all these tractors, they will not. They think they think that their job will be gone. like the point I was trying to make is that like that, even tractors and even all those machines were just a tool, right? Like it helped the farmer like make their life easier, in a sense. Just like that, even AI, like you don't have to be scared. Like it's just a tool. Like you can make use of that tool in order to make your life easier. So one of the prime example, like right now, what one AI that is trending is like I think everyone knows like ChatGPT. So using ChatGPT, like it's the way you use that AI. So like if I search something bad, most probably I'll get something bad. If I search something good, most probably I'll get something good. So it's based on how you use your AI. So I think from that, like you don't have to be scared. It's just a tool.
I was just doing some research,
Yeah.
and then I found that a lot of students are also using ChatGPT to copy their questions, and put it in ChatGPT, they give an answer. So I think we are already becoming a lazy generation, and on top of that, having something like this, which can write you essays, produce images from nothing, from just typing what do you want. Do you think it's good for us for the future? I mean, how would you like say that there's a positive side to this? Like, do you have some points to that? If you do agree that
About the student part, like there's some advantage and disadvantage, but for that I will not go much in depth about it. But the thing is, like I said, like it's how you use the tools, right? So say because of AI, if I search something like example, if I don't know anything about cancer, if I go to the AI ChatGPT and if I search what is cancer, then instead of searching the Google, like it may give me some answer about cancer. So like that's an easier way for me, like in order to get some information, and it's up to me like to cross check all those informations.
Let me start from the previous question actually. It was about the threats. Right, so AI technology is also a new technology that is emerging. And when we talk about technology, it will have its own demerits as well. Nothing in the world is perfect. So just imagine it like this. Imagine the time when humanity or human beings discovered fire. So I feel like that was one of the breaking points where humans took over the world. Because physically we are very less, I mean, almost all the creatures are physically stronger than human beings. But what made human beings the masters of the world was one was mastery over the use of fire. So I'm sure initially when fire was discovered, somebody might have burned their houses, might have burned their hands or legs, and some injury must have been concrete. Accordingly, there was a threat where people generally, our minds are inquisitive. Not only that, we are also very apprehensive of something that we don't know. So even today, the threat remains. Fire can be used. It's an essential part of our lives, but at the same time, fire can also be used for destructive purposes. So that threat still remains. So fire was the beginning. That is what I was trying to say. The second part should be the invention of the wheel. That is what I feel. It's an engineering marvel actually. That was the base point where we started manufacturing gears. That is how it all started, right? To create all these machines also today. And that led to the development of many, many more complex machines and mechanisms, further leading to, of course, with the help of electricity and all these other technologies, it further led to the creation of computers, right? So, and when computers came, what calculations we could do would take us for 10, 20 minutes, it could perform that within a fraction of a second. Right? It could do multiple calculations. So that was one of the biggest threats that people used to be observing. And that is how in pop culture also the idea grew, where computers become so smart that something like AI is generated and that it has a mind of its own. It will take over the world. Those dystopian society movies and all come into the picture through that. So even AI technology is something like that. And I would also say that the threat cannot be just debunked like that, because we can see how powerful an AI tool is going to be. Even today, with whatever tools available in our internet itself. Example, ChatGPT was discussed, so we can see what the threat is and what the capability of that AI is. So we can never rule out the threat of such an invention or a technology that is in our midst today. So yeah, I don't think anybody has a concrete answer on that at this present juncture. And of course, we can discuss about mitigations and what to do, what not in the later part of this talk also. And the other part was about students using AI tools to finish their homeworks and whatnot. So since we are also an organization dealing with technology, and our focus group is mostly students, school students and college students as well. Plus, we also want to take up this technology part to a higher level. So we have been receiving a lot of comments as well till date. So some people are saying that you're just teaching them some this, that, and you're calling it robotics. Some comments we have received as such as well. So we know the complexity of all this technology involved. Like it or not, it's here to stay, and it's going to grow even further. That is what we can say. Now, I feel like the more pertinent question is, in case such a day comes, the worst thing comes, we as human beings, are we ready to handle or tackle such a problem? Or what are the ways that we should equip ourselves, in which, even if such a threat comes, are we capable of handling such a situation? It will take, I don't know, 40, 50 years, or maybe within the next 10 years also, something might come as such, or it might even take 100 years until something happens and everything goes haywire. So that threat can never be ruled out. As I said, we have to be on our toes. We have to equip ourselves. We have to skill ourselves to such a degree, or we have to come up with solutions in such a way that even if such a thing happens, we have a plan B. OpenAI has become the talk of the town actually. Everywhere you go, you open up your TV channels, everybody is discussing, which is why it has gained a lot of, let's say, popularity. But let me tell you, OpenAI's project, ChatGPT, is just one AI tool that we have seen, or we understand it as an AI. There are multiple companies and corporates working on AI technology right now, and they are already imbibed into the system. Maybe they did not gain as much popularity as ChatGPT, but it is already there. So what about those other corporates and companies that were already running AI programs throughout, without our knowing, that is? If I can give you the examples of any e-commerce company today, for example. So they are using whatever is being fed to you over your, let's say, YouTube or Facebook. I don't know whether it's proper to be naming companies as such, but since we are talking about a specific company, I'm also mentioning that thing. So they are collecting your data, for example. Data science is also another big part of how you are using AI. So how about their collection of your data is, right? The right to privacy is a big thing, but how serious are we currently? So in fact, the YouTube algorithm is as such that it will feed you the videos and the contents that you are already liking, right? If you think about it, you can spend 3-4 days also continuously browsing, right? Shorts, reels, and everything. So algorithm is designed in such a way that it will find out what is your taste, what color you like, what brands you are after, whose talk show you like, what type of mentality people you like seeing interacting. So it has already built that design, and it is feeding you according to that. So we have to look at it in a broader perspective. Just because ChatGPT has already, and this is how they run their programs. It's in the after development and prototyping, and they will run a beta test first or an alpha test first, then it will go. So there are stages in certain ways. So before becoming a commercial product, all the other companies and products have also run that course, right? ChatGPT is the one that has caught our attention because we're in the middle of another technology revolution, as big or even bigger than the industrial revolution. Nagaland, we feel like we're a very remote place, cut out from the rest of the world, where technology has also not reached us properly. We have not seen big industries, big corporates around. We're just living hand to mouth, surviving on whatever is being given from somewhere. We're living on those. So we feel that we are cut out of the whole system. But we have to understand that the world has become, we have been talking about globalization and global. We have been talking about that term also for quite a lot of time. So the world has become a global village, and we are already living into it without even realizing how close we are to the rest of the world. So one example was that the use of social media, for example. Whatever is being done in the US or in Japan, on the spot we'll be able to take that information, get that information. And so it's more global as it seems. So when it comes to equipping ourselves, I think we are far behind because we still have not understood the threats as we have discussed. We also have not seen the opportunities using these tools and how to make a living, because our concern is not how to make a business out of this. We are surviving on, I don't know, I agree is what we say, but on maybe government funds or maybe government jobs. That is our primary resource. So that threat has not been felt yet, but it is very much, we are very much into the system, and we also have to get ready along with the rest of the world to tackle this situation.
Just to add 1-2 points, like he said, we in Nagaland, right? I think we are quite lagging behind in technology. The world is far more way ahead of us. So let's say, for an example, like smartphones. The world, before, I think coming to Nagaland, I think before the smartphone reached Nagaland, the world was way ahead, and we were still using Nokia phone, all those things. And even today, our generation, our parents, some of them are still illiterate in smartphones. They don't know how to use camera, they don't know how to use WhatsApp, all those things. So likewise, the technology will never wait for us. So we ourselves have to get ready for the technology. We have to equip ourselves with the technology. Since right now, internet, everyone has access to internet. Especially in the people in town areas, everyone has access to internet. And everything's available in Google, all those things. It's available, the informations. So we have to read up on that. We have to get ready, and using that all those information, we have to be ready, because like I said before, the technology will never wait for us. It will go on and on and on. And as the technology goes on, if we're not keeping up with the technology, we'll fall behind. Yes.
Just a question here. So, was there a necessity to have such inventions?
So yeah, I think we will have to understand basic sociology, basic political science, or basic economics to give an answer to this. So obviously, like the popular saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention. One. So let's make it clear. And how does this necessity crop up? Let's get back to that part. For example, if you see a business or a corporate running, what is its main motive? Obviously, it has got some purpose to bring a positive change to the world and whatnot, for whatever, to make our lives easier. So they have all these products. Now, in order to run this, a company has to thrive. A corporate has to thrive. So while doing this, how do? You have to mitigate costs, right? Or you have to bring down the cost. You have to be more efficient as a corporate, so that you make more profits. Now, for example, ChatGPT, for example, we have been talking about. So how much, by the use of this AI tool, how much is a company actually gaining? Just imagine in that scale, right? We have some examples where we have big companies even in India, like Infosys, for example. They have more than 6.5 lakh employees. Just imagine the documentation process that is being, suppose they have to write a letter to certain employees, how many letters are going out every day, each day. For that, they are keeping some typists, they are keeping some content creators. So they are spending millions of dollars or rupees, for that matter, in order to keep this thing stay afloat. So in case they have a tool which you have to pay $34, for example, to use ChatGPT. So using that $34, if that can do the work of, say, around 10,000 employees, just imagine the cost cutting that the company is going to be benefited out of. So
but isn't that not good for the employees?
So
because you will have AI doing everything.
All right.
And then employees, they need salaries. So you cut off 100 people,
All right.
and AI can do it. So isn't that like not good for the employees?
So
Go to the physical work.
yeah, that's true. So so let's get it right then. That means so Infosys. I've taken the example of one MNC. Are they here for social services? That's one of the questions. As a government, yeah, we have seen a lot of protests, right? If there is some layoff or some change, for example, the new pension scheme, NPS. For that, how many people are shouting, right? Even now. So as a government, some hands are tied, and in this democratic system, like you have ways to protest, government has to please people, whatnot. But as an MNC, you are looking at profits, not at the cost of running at a loss. You cannot keep on feeding your employees just so that your primary motive is not that. That is what I'm trying to say. So now, again, we are always in our comfort zone. So the employees also, what we have to do during the COVID times, we have seen the boom of many tech companies, ad tech companies maybe, or even the use of WhatsApp became more popular. That is what we feel during the COVID times. So nobody gave us a course on how to use a WhatsApp, but it was essential for us. So everybody had to learn, and it was no rocket science for anyone to learn. So this is also something like that. So instead of your mail coming in every day, you have to go and collect a postman bringing your letters so that you can read. If you have the basic understanding of how your cell phone works, you'll be able to use WhatsApp, for example, to send messages. And we also have to look at this way. We're only looking at the drawbacks or how it's going to affect us. We have to look in a way where we have to equip ourselves so that we also remain relevant to the society. Like my colleague said, there's no way we can stop the advancement of technology. There's no way. We have our apprehensions, fine. But technology is not going to stop because there's a need. There's an urgency of competing with each other. If ChatGPT has come up, Google is introducing BART at the same time, right? So it's a competition. So technology will keep on improving. There's no way to stop. The question is, what should we do to equip ourselves so that we also remain relevant to the rest of the world?
What is the progress of all these technologies and the approach of people towards this actually, towards AI and technologies here in Ireland?
I will start off. While inaugurating our Nagabots Incubation Center under Startup Policy, so one comment that we received from one of the dignitaries that day was the threats of AI and the importance of being prepared when it comes to tackling with such technology. Disruptive technology is what we are calling. So the approach as such, most of the people are apprehensive, we are scared. If something, we have seen so many movies like Terminator, right, iRobot, and what else? There are many mainstream movies, right? Robots taking over humans, Matrix movie, for example. These are cult movies, and pop culture is as such that general mindset is we are scared of technologies taking or robots taking over us. So same thing is also flowing in Nagaland. That is what we have been seeing. Many people are because we are lost as to what to do, how we should prepare ourselves. We have no clue, which is why people are scared. Now, a certain group, everybody is understanding the threat, but many people are trying to adapt themselves, which is why even our programs, like the robotics courses that we're doing in schools. So the few schools that have already incorporated this into their curriculum, they are seeing that it's coming, whatever, we have to get prepared. Some people are still in denial mode, right? We will not encourage this. So there's another section of people who are in denial, and as discussed, it's coming, like it or not. So we are getting mixed responses from both the ends.
But in institutions, why do you think institutions are denying? I don't want to introduce this sort of education. Why do you think?
Yeah, so we have not come across anyone saying that we don't want this. No, obviously some other reasons, but some are more enthusiastic in implementing as soon as possible. We should not be left out. We have to start. We have to be early in the race. Like that, some are just wait and watch mode, right? If NBSC incorporates, maybe that time we'll think about, right? So computers also same thing. When it was introduced back in our high school days, it was like a thing, right? So everything is going to be taken over by computers, so we have to introduce. So that is how the trend started gaining momentum.
When you talk about incorporating all this in education, what do you mean by that? Like, you have an approach to that? You think of something, you have a vision?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Right. I will also touch on something that you have earlier asked about. Regarding the education part, students are doing their homeworks using. So Google was also the same thing. Phones were not allowed in the class because Wikipedia was there, Google was there. You'll get your answer. ChatGPT is the higher version of that, right? So we are also apprehensive that it will be producing a society of students or who are the building blocks of our society in the future, and their IQ levels will be quite comparatively less than what it is today. That is what one of our apprehensions is also about. Why? Because whatever tools we are at our disposal in our online and internet platforms, all these are designed in such a way that it can cater. You see how a product is developed in a tech company, for example, a cell phone. The engineers are given a task in such a way that, okay, tell me how you can explain this to a 5-year-old. Show me how this cell phone or this app can be used by a 5-year-old. That is the question they give to the engineers, and accordingly they develop such a product. See, our parents right now today, they'll be bragging about their children, saying that my child is very good in technology. He or she can use the cell phone like this. I don't know, he knows, she knows, right? So, but all these technologies are developed in such a way that it is accessible to, dumb people and even smart people alike, right? So, something to do with that. So now, our main motive or our goal is to make everyone understand the importance of the upcoming technologies. Everybody, like it or not, regardless of the profession. It's not only for engineering students. It's not only for science or physics students, math students. No, it's for the whole of society. Everybody, whether you're in humanities stream, whether you're a journalist for that matter, whether you're a photographer, you have to understand some basic elements on how technology works, right? How your computer works, how AI thinks, right? So if you are prepared in that way, regardless of whether you become an engineer in the future or not, if you understand the basic modalities on how these tools or these robots or these computers are working, then you will also get answers or get solutions to more of the questions or the challenges that will come. So that is one of the ways to mitigate this problem. That is our approach, which is why we're also into this line of work. So like you rightly mentioned, we have a general stereotype wherein good students will go for science, and commerce generally. Even if you look at statistics, it's studied by more people who are into business already. So, very small number of students are doing science and commerce, and the rest, by default, you will go for arts. You need a graduate degree. You need this to appear your civil services. At least the minimum qualification is BA or. Yeah, so that is how the general mindset is. So when NagaBot started, it started off from there. So personally, I did science in 11-12. Why? Because the generic answer, class 10 results were a bit good, so you go for science. Then I went for my mechanical engineering. That also by default. Everybody in class 12 was appearing for GEs. That is what we used to call it back then. And somehow we got into that. So I also, just with the flow. That is how I started. So one of the primary motives is we want to break that cycle. Right? We want to make people understand the importance of all the streams. So regardless of whatever you are studying, also you can become anything. That is one. But one primary motive of us is we don't want to show shortcuts and the easy way outs to the students today. Most of us are tending to become lazy, right? We have been fed with all those stories. How school dropouts or college dropouts like Mark Zuckerberg and all, right? They have dropped out and still they have managed to make multi-billion-dollar companies and all. So we have been fed so much of these stories, success stories. And if you go around, I normally make it a point to ask all my students what they want to become in life, right? So nowadays, one thing that is trending is many of our students want to become YouTubers, right? Without understanding the process that YouTubers actually undergo, right? They have to do a lot of editing, lots of post-production work is there, a lot of preparation before they shoot a video. They have to make concepts. So shortcut or the glamorous life that is being seen is the inspiration. There should be an inspiration point.
Yeah, so in robotics and AI, the inspiration is lacking. That's why we don't have a lot of people going towards that line also, right?
Yeah, maybe that could be one of the reasons. But again, I feel like we as an organization, we would like to personally encourage students to take up STEM streams. Okay, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. All these streams we want to, because these are not the shortcuts. These are the long ways, right? If you really want to have a proper understanding of how computers work or how actually AI works, right? Besides the tools in the internet, right? Just not like your ChatGPT, you use, you type. That's not what we are aiming. Those are tools that will help and aid us, of course. But if you are really, we would like to encourage our students to persistently take up these subjects in college as well, to have a better understanding in computers or AI for that matter, how AI is actually developed, how the algorithms are actually designed, right? So you pursue your computer science. That is what inspiration we're trying to instill in the present students' minds. We are going to, there's a good chance and higher chance that we're raising a lazy generation, as discussed earlier. You have all the answers at your fingertips, right? I remember this quote by Albert Einstein. It seems he was not interested in learning dates, history, and all this, because all this information was already available in books. So that was his take on how education should be. It should be something progressive, something that whatever is available in books, you can always refer back to them. So maybe it's not important for you to memorize. So that was his concept. So even today also something like this is approaching us. If you have everything over Google, or if you can do everything over ChatGPT, what's the use of education? See, the general perspective, the mentality of us citizens is, some people even say there's no point in education, because even if you are educated, you are not going to get a job, right? So job is the ultimate motive for you giving education to your children, which is a totally wrong approach of why education is given. That is my take on it now. Why? Because education, no matter what, if you are educated, you are already empowered. You understand how the world works and how to mitigate your way, or how to maneuver your way throughout the intricacies and complexities of life. That is how education is going to empower you to become a responsible citizen, maybe to be a positive, contributing person to the rest of the society. So we have to look it at that way. And in fact, just touching on the point that you asked, actually, the irresponsibility of how you were mentioning, how irresponsible it was for people to just throw it out to the world. We don't know how to use it. It's like a bomb that is given to everyone. And we can compare it in that way also. So, but like I mentioned earlier, that has been already done by many other corporates already. Just that we did not notice it until ChatGPT came out, right? AI was not a thing till then, but AI was in existence. Let me tell you, we have complex robots that can perform complex surgeries. That technology had already been there with us since the past 10, 15 years, right? We have robots that are capable of becoming managers. We have, in fact, one company just recently, they have in Japan, that is, it's an insurance company. They have already incorporated robots, and that company has no human employee. Robots are doing the work for it. Computers are running the show for them. So it is already there. Just a matter of, regulation. Some regulations are there restricting. Just a matter of lifting up that imposition on them. And the world is all set for AI to take over in actual sense. So our general approach could be, there should be some regulation, some government has to give this law, just like what we do in social media today. There's some vetting process. And even AI we use AI to, even do that vetting for us,
Yeah,
right?
we
Such
talk
contents.
about some laws, no?
Right. Yeah, robotics laws.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just finish this point.
Okay.
So when it comes to regulation also, government normally we impose some regulations, restrictions, XYZ on certain companies, certain products, whatnot, and that is how government has been running. But one thing we have to acknowledge today is artificial intelligence, technology, even currency. See, cryptocurrency has come up, right? Bitcoin and what all those. It has become too big. It has already become too big for any government to control it anymore. We can look at two ways, right? If there is no ownership, for example, internet, who owns the internet is one of the questions you can ask, right? For example, in India, there are some specific laws for the fourth estate, for example. Freedom of press is not a fundamental right, for example. Right? There is a regulatory body, you'll have to undergo some bureau or some, for example, PTI has to, kind of give you or validate or approve your news before it comes out, or you have to be responsible in that way. That is how checking and balance mechanisms work in countries. So in that way, sometimes can you see a threat where if some interested people come into the picture, they will see that this news, no, you will not be able to publish this news. Whereas as a journalist, for example, whether it's good or bad, they have to show the rest of the world. That will be journalism ethics, let's say. But there's a good chance that that authority itself becomes a dictator, right? So in that way, if you look at it in that perspective, where there's no honor, it's even better in that perspective. So, for example, cryptocurrency, there's no particular, for Bitcoin, for example, there's no bank running it. The whole system, if the whole world becomes corrupted for that matter, or if the whole world decides to make a change in a Bitcoin, for example, the users as a whole, the community as a whole, maybe something will happen, and that chance or likelihood is very less as compared to other. So, but when it comes to a government, for that matter, it's very easy because one party is ruling the government. You can bring out policies from that. So just a few handful of people, experts, the so-called experts are the ones who are imposing laws on us. So if you look at it in that perspective, government taking control over it is also a big threat. And in the other way, if it's not regulated means there's no way of vetting, there's no way of, whether the technology is exposed to young kids or not, for example, to be used for a wrong purpose, for a negative thing, right? Today you can just type in how to make a bomb using domestic items like whatnot. You ask, ChatGPT will give you the answer. In fact, that was one of the debates that was ongoing earlier.
You were saying that all these technologies are also making our generation, the coming generations, a very low IQ generation.
All right.
So now that statement and what you just said, how contradictory.
Yeah. So I just to put it across clearly, we cannot just assume that next generation children will be less IQ. No, we cannot assume. There's a possibility. Yeah. So we should never take it out of the equation. That is what I feel. Because unless you know the threats, you will not be able to find solutions, or design your curriculum or anything for that matter in order to tackle that issue. So that possibility should always be in the equation, so that we also know how to restrict our children, for that matter, personal children. How many parents allow their children to freely use the internet and the computer without any restrictions? See, such parents, that is what I'm talking about. Right? If you know what is available in the internet, then you will look for ways in which you can regulate content for your children, right? Until this age group and whatnot. So the question is for the general people to understand and analyze. What do I have to do in order that my children are protected from such things, right? Or
they always find a way.
They will find a way. So again, it's up to the parents to again beat the system again, to control that, right? Some parents I know personally, what they do is their computers are lying in a common place, like a kitchen or maybe somewhere in their living area. So as long as the parents are there, they are allowed 1-2 hours. So that is how they've developed their own mechanisms to keep monitoring their children. But some parents, they'll just buy them tablets, phones, laptops, very easily accessible. You'll be in your room, you do whatever you want, right? So these are some of the questions which do not have answers actually. Everybody is looking for these answers, right? It will not be a conclusion per se when I give this comment. Why? Because like I mentioned, nobody knows what is coming. Nobody has the solutions. Nobody has the answers. It's something for us humans to work on and bring out solutions for such threats or such opportunities, how to use it for our benefit, how to make sure or how to ensure that such technologies do not take over us and what we have to do. So basically it's a question on how we should prepare ourselves to tackle the upcoming world. So first thing is we have to understand that we cannot stop technology from developing further. We cannot be in a denial mode. We have to acknowledge that, like it or not, technology is coming. It might overtake us. We also have to understand the threats. Not only that, we also have to look forward at the opportunities that will be available to us because of these resources. We just have to equip ourselves in order to be in line with what the rest of the world is undergoing so that we don't remain behind. And one innate belief that I personally have is we humans, we are survivors. There has been countless times wherein humanity could have been wiped off because of, let's say, pandemics, epidemics, whatnot problems have been faced, but we are survivors as humans. So although we do not understand what is coming, I am very sure that provided we are equipped enough, we will also come up with solutions. Even if there is a threat that comes on board, we will also come up with solutions to mitigate that. That is one belief. I will also give you an example of the year 2000. So when the year 2000 was approaching, it was the millennial year. Computers were already so much into our systems. So one of the threats that was relevant at that time was binary, zeros and ones. So computers work on zeros and ones, 3 zeros coming together. So there was a good chance that computers will start getting confused because of those 3 zeros coming together, and a lot of programming would have stopped in that way. So that was one of the major threats, and it was like end times were coming, doomsday was coming. Those ideas and concepts were already running around the year 1999. But there was one person who came up with a solution, and the idea of today we use, for example, we asked the amount of an object. We'll just simply quote it as 5K, 10K, right? So that came from that idea. So 3 zeros together, that letter K substituted the 3 letters. So that is how the solution came, right? I hope I'm making sense. Yeah. So there was a threat and everybody was lost, but some person or the other came up with more solutions. So in the same way, even in the future, provided that we are equipped enough, we will also find ways to get over the system in the future. That is one belief that I have.
Yeah, I think I'll just keep my conclusion simple. Like, just before I said, like, just take an example of AI. Example. So in the industrial age, so like before I think World War II, like the cars, in the car manufacturing factories, like there were many people employed. Like I think for a single car there were like hundreds of people. But like as the time went on, as the technology went on, like the robots came in, like the robots and the assembly line robots came in, and like because of that, the company was able to like mitigate their expenses, and they were able to cut down the cost of the production. And because of that, also sometimes the car cost came down because of the robots. And also like because of that, many people did lose their job, but like they were able to adapt adapt with that technology, adapt with that robot assembly line technology, and they were able to change their job. They were able to find jobs somewhere else. So likewise, I just want to say like even AI right now, like it's coming in. We have no choice. We can't stop the AI. So we have to adapt. We have to be ready. And as technology goes on, like we have to be on the same level as the technology, and yeah, just be ready. That's it.
I actually missed out on that point.
Maybe I forgot to ask. In Nagaland, how do we prepare for it?
Okay.
What are your steps? Like, what can you suggest?
So, for Nagaland as a state, let us also understand that India is in the forefront when it comes to the information technology industries. We cannot compete with other countries in many fronts, but at least in the IT industry, we are very much ahead of many of the countries. So let us also understand that those opportunities that are available at our disposal as being part of the Indian Union, one. And the other part, the second thing is how to get equipped. So today, rightly, we are being called living in the age of information technology, also known as the age of social media. So if we look at it, we can look at many of the drawbacks and limitations or the bad parts that can be influencing our society. But let us also look at the brighter side of the picture. There are so many tools available at our disposal today, just in your pocket, just in your hands. Using your cell phone, you can do innumerable things, and the things which you could not have conceived 20 years back. So let us use this to our advantage. We can learn so many things using the internet today. We can undergo a lot of trainings without formally being admitted to some technological institutes.
If you could be specific, like in which area, like particularly, AI can really benefit seeing Nagaland,
Okay.
AI can really help.
Okay. Okay. AI can help in this way. Now, like our Nagabots, we have this dream of making Nagaland a robotics destination. So, if we look at the topography or the geography in which we are located, we cannot come up with big industries, manufacturing industries, because of lack of raw materials, transportation cost. We have a lot of excuses, but there is one front in which we can thrive on, and that is through this robotics or even artificial intelligence and AI technology that is coming in handy. If we are equipped with the right tools or with the right skill sets, today no company or no corporate is looking for a degree. Today they are looking for skills. So if we can skill up in the technology front, maybe by getting adept with programming courses, let's say, if we're good in programming or if we're good in coding, if we're good with this, how to have our way around machines and robots. So this could be one of the major factors that will take us to the next century. So that is how we can get ready for the future. When I mentioned why we all need to have a basic understanding of how the economy works, how sociology works, how politics and all these things come together, what I meant to say was basic understanding. Let's break it down from the bottom. Most important thing for us, not even shelter. First thing comes food. We need food, then maybe shelter, and then our wants come in. Then our needs are developed. So first thing is to fill our bellies with food. When the green revolution happened, one person could till land for 20 people, for example. An agriculturist could feed a whole state, for that matter. Right? So that job was taken care of. So we need not go to the fields anymore. So we'll be thinking, okay, if we are not going to the fields, who is going to feed us? That could have been a problem. But now with that technology coming in, with the green revolution kicking in, more people were unemployed, let's say, because they need not go back to their fields again, because somebody was tilling the land for them. doing their agricultural job for them. So they had more time to invest in other ways. Okay, so for example, somebody thought like, why not start working in a tractor factory, right? Because that is the need of the hour. When tractors started getting manufactured, now somebody had to work on the tires, somebody had to work on the painting, right? So new jobs were being created. So if we look at it in that perspective, there will be more jobs as such. The jobs that are going to become obsolete today will create space for new jobs to be taken over. Today, ChatGPT is doing my typing work. So maybe tomorrow I'll need another person who will know how to use ChatGPT, right? So I will not be using a content creator.
ChatGPT is not necessarily like that. Right? It's very user friendly.
Very much.
Yeah.
Anybody can.
Anybody can.
Right.
So in that sense, writers, ChatGPT can produce essays, stories, and writings as if like some human has written it. You know that. So when you have a technology, one signal technology doing the work of at least 100 to 200 people in seconds now,
Right.
what other job do we look for?
Right. Okay, we have been talking a lot about ChatGPT. Let me also give you another example on sound, for example. There are AI tools that can, understand and make and create music.
Okay.
We have some technologies, some examples maybe we can give, but not now. So when you think of a musician, some people will like rock music, for example. Some will like whatnot music, classical music for that matter. So a musician is a person who is able to express what other people and other people are able to relate through his or her music. Now, if we think about it, we are thinking that, okay, musicians' jobs are also going off, right? Because any random person. But when you think about it in this way, there are more people do you think the number of people who are listening to music will go down? I don't think so. It's a part of humans, right? Listening to music is also a part of humans. Now, as a talented musician, he or she can strike the chords with many people. Whereas suppose I'm not a musician, I will not understand the intricacies of music, what makes people move, what makes people understand the emotions. So a non-musician making good music will be out of the context, no matter what tools are given to that person. But at the same time, that musician, it took him, say, 10 years to make 10 albums for that matter, for example. And out of that, there were 5 albums that were super hit, 5 albums that were not. So just imagine it. Within 10 years, it took him 10 albums. Now, just imagine him making 10 albums within 10 months. So if you look at that through that perspective, within 10 years, you would have created more than 100, 200, 1,000 albums also.
But then again, see, now that you are producing 4 or 5 albums say, in a single year, and because it's AI generated, it's going to be super hit. So you have everything is super hit, everything is going to be super hit from all sides. So in that way, we will not see, us losing value of something special, like something that makes it, it gives it that human touch now.
Right. That is what we've been talking about. But let me tell you, that human touch is better given by AI. Like we were discussing earlier, it is about how human mind works. That is how you train your algorithm, your computer. How the human mind actually works, and a big part of it is also data science, like we discussed earlier. I really did in data science. So what is data science? It's just a collection of all the information and data from all over the world, and from that you look at trends. What makes people move from this area? What kind of music are people listening to from this area, for example? What colors or what shades are their preferences or choices? So, in fact, if you listen to some of the AI-generated tools, I've seen one video in which a legendary singer like Kurt Cobain, who has already passed away, AI is studying his music, his genre, and actually making a music or a song which sounds exactly like him, with lyrics and the style in which he produces music. So, in fact, you will not be able to differentiate whether the actual singer sang that song or another singer. So that is a time. So when it comes to creative arts, we always talk about human touch, right? But I can assure you with the present, which is why I'm also mentioning how these creative arts people, their jobs will go off first. Like it was in the middle of our discussion earlier, or the content creators and the jobs. The people whom we think that your jobs will never be taken away. These people's jobs are going to go away first. And later on, slowly will trickle down the strata of society. White collar jobs, blue collar jobs, right? Menial labor jobs will go off last. That is what I feel. Creative writing, creative designing, whatnot, everything, your jobs will go away first. Then it will start affecting the lower strata of the society. We have to understand that part. So that basic understanding is necessary for us to.
So the effect is not good.
For creative writers, big threats.
Yeah.
Right. For content creators, big threats.
Okay.
Yeah. First threats. Yeah. It will trickle down. But they'll be the first to be affected.
People will be affected.
Yeah. For example, I want to make a video, for example. I want to make a video. So that human element is necessary because humans are already, we know like what this group of people understand. What, suppose I'm going to make an animation movie. So which target group I have in mind. Accordingly, I'm going to design what elements are these people will likely like. So accordingly, I'm going to design my video. So the sequence has to be in this particular way. I have to give an opening. I have to introduce the character, right? I have to get into my storyline. I have to make it clear, and there should be a villain, for example. All these things that a human understands, AI will understand it. You multiply it by 1,000,000 times. AI is better than you in that aspect. So
AI is more into perfection, right?
right,
And humans, we will not necessarily call ourselves perfect.
right.
There's always that space for perfection, and I think that is what makes it much more beautiful, man.
Yeah. And in fact, that imperfect element is what we as humans, we try to find even in that perfect element, right? Maybe that beauty spot that women have been talking about, right? That perfect face, but you have to give a beauty spot so that it has a human touch, or that thing that is intriguing. So even that thing is being understood by AI is what I'm trying to display right now.
And just to for my personal experience, just to give some little human touch is there. For me, I feel like, especially ChatGPT, even if you ask A to Z question, like exactly, they'll example let's say how to write a letter to the president, something like that. It'll give me a letter, but like I said, it's perfection. There's some perfection. Like the AI model is trained to be perfect, right? So it'll give me something, but as a human, I feel like this is too overreaching. That's why in the end I have to manually make some edit.
But I mean, when AI is giving you a perfect thing, which works, why would you want to go for something that
No, so in my experience, like I said, say I have to give a report to the newspaper about something. So it'll give me a report if I give all the details. But there are some points that the AI wants to exaggerate. So there are some points and headings that I feel like if I give this, it's too much of I feel like I'm bossing around, something like that. So there are some minor changes that I feel even if AI gives me the perfect answer, I'm pretty sure I'm going to make some tweaks.
you would give that judgment because you have a sense of okay, this is not going to be this word used by AI is too much, because you have the capacity to spot that out, right? Now what about those group of people who do not think like that, who do not think critically, and who believe in easy work, easy way out?
So there was one meme that was going about. It was about two corporates interacting. One corporate was laughing because they wrote a letter to the other corporate using ChatGPT. They just gave some bullet points and ChatGPT wrote the whole thing for them. And they sent that letter to the other corporate. So these people were saying, okay, very conveniently we have made this letter and we have sent them. So they were laughing. On the other end, the other corporate, what they did was, they took that letter, fed it to ChatGPT, and from the whole letter, they took out the bullet point. And from there, they need not go through that whole boring procedure of making out whatnot. Bullets were already highlighted. So, in fact, whatever was sent was received in the same way. Bullets, right? Others are just semantics. Sometimes it's just formality like that, right? So that element was taken out. Now, even when it comes to that imperfection part, see, for example, you browse through the internet, a lot of photos are coming out. Human faces, for example. And everybody is trying to reach that perfection. We have all these filters today. You can morph your images, whatnot. So, popular demand. See, one of the biggest threats of AI is this. It has no conscience. It cannot differentiate right and wrong. Even if you are feeding it the wrong information, it's going to take it as right. Everything is right for AI. But one thing you can train your AI is, it will go by popular trends. So what's the popular trend of beauty? Beauty standards, for example. So beauty standards will not be set by one person. Maybe fashion industries will be trying to, try to take the society through that way. But there is a certain beauty standard that everyone understands. So out of 10 faces, which face is the most beautiful as per the internet, let's say. So everybody will be voting, for example. And for them, they are voting model number 5 is the most beautiful. Why? Because the features are like this, the nose is like this, the chins are like this, or maybe he has a mole in that area. So that is how the AI has understood that imperfection is the standard for us, or the beauty, or the most beautiful for us humans. Now, if we ask our AI to generate a photo of a person who is most beautiful in the world, maybe he'll take in all those elements of imperfections as well, and they'll create an image for you, and that will look like, as per human standards, that is beautiful, right? That element of imperfection is also there, right? So that is the capability of AI we have to understand. It's not about perfection, it's about trends, which is why data science comes in, right? It's about collection of data, information that is fed into, and that is also one of the major threats of AI right now. There's no sense of right and wrong. Did we make it clear enough?
There is no sense of right and wrong.
No. So that's the major threat.
I just want to say AI, right? So from my studies, what I learned is that there are 3 types of training your AI. So one is supervised learning. That supervised learning means you'll see the AI, how it's learning, what to learn, what not to learn. All those will be regulated by you, and you'll be training your AI model. That's the first one, supervised learning. The second one is unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning means you'll just create a model, and you'll just publish it or you'll just make it open source or something, and it'll just collect data, it'll train itself, and again, that's how it's training itself. You are no human intervention will be there in that AI, second part, unsupervised learning. And the last learning which I've learned is reinforcement learning. So just teaching, example of reinforcement learning is teaching our dog some tricks. Say if you want your dog to sit, after sitting you give him some treats, right? In order to let him know that if I say sit, you should sit, right? So like that, even training your AI model, reinforcement learning, there's a thing called reinforcement learning, and that's how you train your model. So while training your model, and if you want to test your model, and if your model is trained to detect cameras, say, and if you give an image of a camera, and if the AI model was able to successfully detect that it's a camera, then you'll give some the algorithm is made in such a way that it'll give the algorithm some plus point, something like that. And say if you give a camera, but however the AI was not able to recognize that it's a camera, then the algorithm is designed in such a way that it'll give its own AI some negative point. So that's how it works. So there's three types, like I said: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement.